Alrighty, here is the last video to go over the exam review sheet. So it is going to go over questions 41 through 63. And then there's a few things I'm going to add at the end that are not on the review sheet, but you might need to know. So don't stop the video at 63, let it keep going. Alright, so question 41 asks you what is the correct order of the meninges from outermost to innermost. Remember, the meninges are just layers around, kind of like that membrane around the brain and your spinal cord that's just used for a little extra protection. So from outermost to innermost, we're going to go dura, arachnoid, pia. So those are your three layers of your meninges from outermost to innermost. So dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. And then your dermal papillae, that's what forms your fingerprints, is actually located in the upper part of your dermis. Upper part of the dermis. So again, this is what forms your fingerprints. Question 43 asks you to list the layers of the epidermis out in order from deepest to most superficial. So this is when you need to remember the acronym BIG spiders grab little children. Okay, so this is an acronym that's going to help you remember them from bottom, or the deepest, to the top. So remember, it is basal, spinosum, granulosum, lucidum. Remember, this is the layer that's only present in thick skin, like on your hands and your feet, and corneum. So big spiders grab little children, basal, spinosum, granulosum, lucidum, and corneum. Question 44 says the medical specialty that deals with the diagnosis and treatment of skin disorders is called dermatology. So dermatology is when you study the skin and try to diagnose it. Question 45 says a person with albinism has a defect in the production of melanin. So they don't produce melanin at all, which is why their skin and their hair and everything is so light in color. 46, if you have a haircut, scissors are cutting through the shaft, the hair shaft part of your hair. And then where is the hypodermis located? Is question 47, and it is located under, sorry, that looks kind of like a V. I spelled that entirely wrong. Let's just start over here. So it is under the dermis. So remember, your layers go epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. 48. Why would the skin have a red or pink tone? Remember, this is due to oxygen-rich hemoglobin in the blood. So especially if your blood vessels are super close to the surface, it'll give the skin kind of a pink or red tone because of the oxygen-rich hemoglobin. Question 49 asks you to list the functions of the skin. So remember, these include protection, so keeping you protected from chemical damage, mechanical damage, UV light, anything like that. Sensation, has receptors in the skin to help you feel touch, pain, pressure. Produces vitamin D. So whenever your skin is exposed to UV light, it's going to produce vitamin D. helps to regulate temperature. Regulate temperature. So by sweating or giving you goosebumps when you're cold. And excretion. Question 50 says sebaceous glands produce blank an oily substance. That would be sebum. Question 51, it says to produce vitamin D, the skin cells need to be exposed to UV light. So they need to be outside getting some sunshine in order to produce vitamin D from the skin. Question 52 says to prevent an unwanted hair from growing back, you must destroy the matrix of the hair. So not just the root, you've got to get rid of the matrix. 53 says stratum blank is only found in thick skin. So this is looking for a layer of the epidermis, and that layer would be the lucidum layer. And it is only found in the palms, so the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. Everywhere else will only have thin skin and will not have this layer. Question 54 says the whitish semilunar area near the nail root is called the lunula. So lunula. And then 55, which layer of the epidermis undergoes continual cell division? That would be the basal layer. So the one all the way at the bottom. Remember, big spiders grab little children. This is the very bottom one. Question 56 has a lot of blanks here, so a lot of questions are going to come from this one. So it says yellow-orange pigment of the skin. It is known as carotene, so think of like carrot, carotene. The black-brown pigment is melanin. You have a waterproofing protein in your skin, and that is known as keratin. So try not to get keratin and carotene confused. The cells that function in immune response are called the Langerhans. I might run out of space. And the ones that function in touch reception are called the Merkel cells. Question 57. Brain cavities where your cerebrospinal fluids circulate are known as ventricles. The type of cells in epithelial tissue that secrete mucus are called goblet cells. Think of Halloween, goblet, so they secrete mucus. Question 59, what is MS? Remember, MS is just an abbreviation for multiple sclerosis. And this is where the myelin sheath starts to break down off the axon. So the myelin sheath breaks down, and as a result the neurons kind of start to misfire. So this is a neurological disorder, multiple sclerosis, and the myelin sheath on the axon starts to break down, and so the messages kind of go all over the place. It messes with someone's coordination and ability for different types of sensation. Question 60 asks the question if what the limbic system controls, and it controls your emotions. So that is question 60. Question 61 says the gaps between the Schwann cells found at regular intervals of a neuron are called the nodes of Ranvier. We're going to look at that here in a second on the diagram. And 62, the structure that connects and allows communication between two cerebral hemispheres is called the corpus callosum. So remember we said earlier the longitudinal fissure is what separates them, the two hemispheres of your brain, your left and your right side, and then the corpus callosum is what connects them back together and allows the two sides to communicate with each other. All right, here is a picture of a neuron. So what I'm going to kind of help you do is point out some of these structures. All of these yellow things right here, so you've got one there, 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 all of these things are your dendrites. So they receive messages into a neuron. This whole thing, starting from here, going all the way down to the end, all of this is the axon. Now what you see on here, these little blue bubbles, those are known as Schwann cells, and that's what helps to form the myelin sheath. Then you see a little gap here between the Schwann cells, and here you see another gap, another gap, another gap. That is your nodes of Ranvier. Okay, so this whole thing is a neuron. So we have our dendrites, our Schwann cells, our nodes of Ranvier, and then this whole thing is your axon. What we see here is a picture of the skin. So just to go through really quickly, remember this is the hair shaft, so if you get a haircut, that's what it goes through. Starting at the very top and going to about right here, all of this is going to be your epidermis layer. Starting from here and going to about here, all of this big thick layer that you see is your dermis, and then where you see these little eyeball looking